and say hi to Julian McKenzie from The Athletic, who joins us for the first time on the show. He's covered the Flames. He's covered the Senators. Welcome to, normally we say Rider Nation, but we're going to talk hockey. Julian, how are you? Thanks for doing this.
That's okay. I have respect for Rider Nation. Happy to be on the show, man. Nice to meet you.
So here in Saskatchewan, as you well know, we don't have our own NHL team. So you got a lot of different allegiances. You got a lot of Oiler fans. You got Flames fans. You got Jets fans. There's Canucks fans. And Eric Francis, who we have on here quite a bit, he said they're the toughest online fan base to deal with. I don't know if you agree or disagree. So there's a lot. But let's start with the big news of the day. If your bosses at The Athletic, Julian, slid you a piece of paper that said, we want you to stay for 8 more years and give you $128 million, what's your answer? Because Kirill Kaprizov from the Minnesota Wild said no. Is that nuts?
I'm flying to New York to sign the contract myself if it gets to that point. Yeah, I saw that today. And what's funny, I did the Chris Johnston show, and probably like minutes before our episode posted, that news dropped, the report from Frank Seravalli. The first thing that comes to mind is Kirill Kaprizov doesn't want to stay in Minnesota. The Minnesota ownership said that they were prepared to make him the richest player in the league. They understood the value of that quality of player to their franchise. I think at his absolute best, he's a top 10 player in this league, probably no worse than top 12 or top 13, the skating ability, the game-breaking ability. This is a player who if you are the Minnesota Wild, you do everything you can to keep him in the fold. And for Kirill Kaprizov to reportedly reject that deal, I mean, how much more do you want out of that, right? Is it really a situation where you want $17 million, or do you want to take your talents elsewhere? For me, it has to be the latter. If you're getting offered that amount of money and you reject that, I don't know. I would think that Kirill Kaprizov probably wants to go somewhere else. And if I'm a Minnesota Wild fan right now, I'm not feeling great about the fact that arguably the most talented player this franchise has ever had may very well want out by next summer.
This contract offer to Kaprizov, $16 million a season for winning nothing in his career so far, is crazy when I always relay it back to the Florida Panthers, who are playing and acting like a team, guys with incredible talent and skill and winning Stanley Cups and being team guys. Now, you don't get a lot of that. And then you see this to me, Kirill Kaprizov shouldn't be the highest paid guy in the NHL. But Billy Guerin went out on a limb, said, listen, this is what we think of you. So if it's not 128, give me one or two teams. Who do you think could pay him more? Is it the obvious, like the Rangers and the Leafs, who always seem to come up in these conversations?
I wonder about Kaprizov's motivations. I don't know specifically which teams fit the best, but the New York Rangers, I think, would come up significantly in that, in terms of the appeal of playing in New York. I don't have specifically their salary cap structure in front of me, but the fact that, I mean, a player like Artemi Panarin, his future is also in question as well. If you're and they also have Igor Shesterkin too, is it the fact that prominent countrymen for Kirill Kaprizov is an appeal to him to go play in a market like that? I wonder what's that for him. Is it just wanting to just be out of Minnesota and being in either an LA or another big market or another big team that he may feel is closer to winning a Stanley Cup? I think there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered in terms of Kaprizov's motivations at this point. And hey, I mean, we are going off a report, but maybe by tomorrow or maybe another day, we'll hear some offer come through for 16.25 or 16.75 or 17 million. And then this all gets put to bed. But right now, if you're the Minnesota Wild, if you're Kirill Kaprizov, I have so many questions about what he might really want out of this. And if, again, to reiterate to my first point, if you're getting all of that money and you're saying no, I don't think you want that money coming from Minnesota.
Julian McKenzie from The Athletic joins us here on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. How many years did you cover the Flames?
Just 2 seasons. So I was there 2022. So the first year was the first year of Huberdeau and Kadri, and then I got the second year of that, and then I moved to Ottawa.
Okay, so, and with the Flames, and it's no secret, sometimes there are NHL free agents that don't want to go to cities like Calgary or Winnipeg or Edmonton. So there is that. Minnesota is probably on a lot of people's lists of no thanks. It's not sexy enough. Yesterday, the Flames made big splashy news, spending $7-ish million a year, signing Dustin Wolf. Now, when you were there, he still would have been in the American Hockey League, but he played in the NHL last year, nominated for a Calder. Do you like this Craig Conroy move? Is this as smart can get in today's NHL with the money they signed him for?
I like that deal for him. I like the fact that they're betting and fully committing to Dustin Wolf. I only got to see him in the American Hockey League and a handful of games of him at the NHL level, but just talking to people around him, talking to people on the Flames about him, and just talking to Dustin Wolf. This is a guy who, despite his size, despite him getting picked in the 7th round, he's proven to be a winner at every level. And the fact that the Flames were able to give him an opportunity last year and he ran with it and he almost single-handedly put them in the playoffs, how do you not bet on that guy? How do you not commit to him and give him a whole set of money to ensure that he is your number one in the present and for future years to come? I mean, I don't necessarily have too many qualms about that deal. I mean, if you want to see him do it again in terms of his high performances this year, fine. But I also think in this league, you are better off paying up front for young talent who shows you right away that they're worth paying for. And I think Dustin Wolf, just off of how he's been performing, how he's able to play well in the games he's played for the Calgary Flames, he's gotten better in the NHL since he got those first few starts when, at least in the years I was there, to now. Like, I think for the Calgary Flames, you're better off giving him that money as opposed to more of a bridge deal like what they give to Connor Zary, which I could understand in that circumstance where he hasn't played that many games. He gets banged up with a few knee injuries last year. It's worth waiting a little bit on a player like Connor Zary. But for Dustin Wolf, I'm not sure what else he would have needed to prove before getting a big money deal like that. Not to mention, in terms of sticking in a franchise, sticking in a market like Calgary, I believe it was Eric Francis who wrote about Dustin Wolf just before the signing, and he said so many great things about the city of Calgary. And I've seen through his social media before that he will spend his summers there. He loves the city. And one other thing I'll add about the city as well, great city, great people there. The conditions are great. And I know when there was that kind of big exodus with guys like Noah Hanifin leaving, Chris Tanev leaving, Nikita Zadorov also part of it as well. I think Calgary as a city is a great city. I think a lot of those guys really enjoyed it. I think it's just where the franchise might have been and the allure of winning maybe somewhere else and getting more money. But if you're the Flames and you eventually put yourself in a position where you are a veritable cup contender. I mean, look, there are people who want to go play in Edmonton, right? Like, it's 3 hours north of Calgary. It's cold all the time. There's a lot less to do.
Get to that.
There's a lot less to do in Edmonton. And if people want to get mad about that, it's true. There's a lot less to do in Edmonton than Calgary. But if you're telling me, if I'm a good enough player that I can go play with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl right now, yeah, I will go do it. Absolutely. The players, the status of your team has everything to do with wanting to play in a city like in Edmonton or Calgary. And I think there could come a time where if this rebuild retool works and some of these young players pan out like a Zane Parekh, there's every reason for a free agent down the line to say, hey, you know what? It's worth betting on a city like Calgary.
Okay, so I want to ask you the retool, the rebuild, because ownership has said we're never going to tank. A couple weeks ago when the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce engagement photos came out, one of the funniest memes I saw was there was the Calgary Flames logo up on Travis, and then down here it was 16th overall draft picks, meaning that the Flames are always kind of never in the conversation.
I've never seen that meme.
I'll try and find that if we can pull that up. So they're just bad enough to never ever get into where the good stuff is hiding in the NHL draft. If you're a Flames fan, like, can you go through another season where you're kind of close, but you're going to miss out on 2 points and you're trapped in the middle? It's either all in or all out. Like, if you
not this year
as a fan, just no. Do you think that they'll be closer to a playoff spot this year, or they'll make the playoffs this year?
I mean, I'm not sure if I have them as a playoff team this year, but I know if you're a Flames fan, this is not the year to guess if you're in the middle or wonder if your team is in or not. Gavin McKenna is available in the draft. And it's not a guarantee if you're the last. It's never a guarantee. You could get a top 3 spot potentially if you're last place. I get it, but if you're the Calgary Flames, you kind of enter this year with the talent that you have. They want to go for it, but at the same time, that allure of trying to get a better. Here's the thing: like I felt this way when I was there. If you have guys like Huberdeau, Kadri's coming off a career best season in goals. They'll figure out what to do with Rasmus Andersson, but he's still on the team as of now. Blake Coleman's a guy who, if you're a playoff team right now, you would have him on your playoff team. I think he still brings a lot of value for a contending playoff team, considering the fact he's also 1-2. And then you're also having that injection of young players. Matthew Coronado signs a big deal. I thought when I was there, he arguably had the best shot on the team. Zane Parekh looks like he's going to get some NHL minutes this year. Dustin Wolf just signed a big money deal. Like, this is not a team that I think wants to tank or is in actual. I don't think his team's in any real position to tank. This is a team that is clearly trying to retool on the fly. Just if it's in years where it's not going to work, you sell off your assets, you get whatever picks you can get or players you can get. And if you are able to compete for a playoff spot, so be it. It's just, I also understand the frustration from fans where this team might just be good enough to make the playoffs. But is that the right strategy for the way you should build your team? We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, I think for a lot of fans, they really took some pride in the fact that they were close. But I think there's a lot of fans who, if they go through this year the same way as last year, there's going to be a lot of people, whether immediately or years after the fact, who are going to be like, well, why weren't we in a position to get Gavin McKenna or a top 10 talent in this year's draft class, which so many people have said is supposed to be stacked from maybe not top to bottom, but it's supposed to be a lot more talented than the draft class we saw this summer.
Julian McKenzie from The Athletic joins us. He covers the Ottawa Senators now in the NHL. So in the past couple of weeks, Julian, you don't cover the Oilers, but how many times have you been asked about the Connor McDavid situation? And hey, Julian, do you know anything? What's going to happen with McDavid? You can tell Connor's getting tired of the questions. Are you getting tired of the questions as well?
I mean, I'm not getting tired of it. We're talking about the best player in the league. And up to now, he is not committed, long-term, short-term, or otherwise, to another deal beyond the one that's set to expire. What else are we supposed to talk about? We talked about this on the CJ show today. What else are we supposed to talk about? If Connor McDavid lets himself go to free agency, we're talking about a move in the NHL or phenomenon in the NHL that should be the league's answer to when LeBron James had the decision in 2010. That's how I see it. This is a big deal. Even if Connor McDavid says, you know what, I'm going to stick around in Edmonton for 2 years, the clock ticks at that point. You're wondering, okay.
And then he's gone.
He could be gone. He could also stay too, if it's worth sticking around for, if he believes that. But for me, like, I'm not fed up of that question being asked to Connor McDavid, and he might be fed up with it. But I have to think that Connor McDavid is savvy enough to understand that as long as he's in that situation, those questions are going to come up. Like, I don't think you can be a player of his caliber and kind of, just put up the comments he's put out about how you're committed to this season and all that, and not expect people to wonder, hey, what are you going to do beyond that? How much are you really thinking about key pieces in your core being on the wrong side of 30? How much are you thinking about the fact that maybe this team hasn't done a sufficient job in addressing their goaltending issue? I mean, no shade to Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard, but it's very clear those two guys are not enough if they want to win the Stanley Cup going forward. So, yeah, I think until further notice, I mean, there could be lulls. There could be moments where we'll focus on other things, but Connor McDavid should be the story. And the way that he's handling all the contract talks, or at least how he's handling his future, that invites those questions. And until he signs, until he makes a decision on his future, we have every right to ask those questions.
If he does decide to go, if the Gretzky getting traded to LA was a title shift in the NHL that just changed the sport altogether, this would be the second coming of that, because there's be nothing as big. Like, it will rock the foundations. His body language, even from the other day, talking about this after practice, is terrible. And you can tell this. And you work in Canadian markets, Julian. You know how crazy that the media can be, and it's just going to bubble and bubble. I want to talk about the Ottawa Senators, because we don't talk a lot of Senators here. There's some Habs fans probably listening right now going, hey, what are you to talk about the Habs? Habs fans, you always like to talk about yourself. It's Leafs fans, too. Those pesky Ottawa Senators, they make the playoffs last year, and they put a scare in Toronto. Brady Tkachuk is something else. Is he as advertised? Because we only see him on TV. What's he like in real life?
I think being around him as a media member, it's been fascinating to see his star grow, particularly in the last year where he's on a playoff team. Him and his brother are part of those big fights at the Four Nations. I think that tournament did so much for the Tkachuk brand, just in terms of how visible they are. And I think there's a lot of people around the league who hate those two guys for the way that they kind of carry themselves on the ice. But if they were on their respective teams, I think their tunes would change a lot in terms of how they play, how they try to deliver in big moments. I mean, particularly with Matthew, he has two Stanley Cups to his he has Stanley Cups to his name now, and Brady Tkachuk now has at least a taste of the playoffs. These are two guys we could be talking about for quite some time. In terms of Brady specifically, I think in terms of what he means to that Ottawa Senators team, while I think he's really he's really all in on being that leader, and sometimes it's a little bit of a running joke. I remember in terms of last year when they were having that trek towards the playoffs, and he kept repeating the fact that, they have to have a playoff mentality. There were some guys in that room who were like, all right, we get it, man. Like, we've heard playoff mentality like 500 times from you, but they really follow behind him. And he, I think, really represents the soul of that team. As he goes, so does that team. So I think for the Ottawa Senators, even on a team where they have a guy like Tim Stützle, who is, I think, the most talented player on the team, who's able to contribute defensively, but has a world of talent offensively, and Jake Sanderson, who's proven to be the number one defenseman on this team, Brady Tkachuk is a pure power forward who's able to deliver at the net, who's able to produce and score goals in this league and be physical and annoying to opposing players. That's the guy. That's the guy on this Sens team who, if he's healthy, he produces. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if this team goes back to the playoffs again. Of course, there are other players on that team who carry that, but Brady Tkachuk's success is very much tied to the Ottawa Senators own.
Do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs minus Mitch Marner can be better without him, because Mitch Marner, the distraction, not the hockey player, aren't part of the team anymore? That maybe they'll rally the troops now that he's a Vegas Golden Knight. And I saw the video with the light show and the smoke at the practice arena. Looks flashy. But with the interviews and all of that in the past couple of weeks, it's just a lot. Are they going to be happy that maybe they don't have to deal with that this year?
Well, I think the Marner thing, it seems like, from a negative standpoint, if you view it just on the attributes of it, where it was more of a distraction, a negative for the team in terms of Marner not delivering in big moments, and the fact that that situation caught like fire, just after the playoffs were over, and then the trade happens, and then he goes to Vegas. I think the team is going to be relieved at the fact that they don't have to deal with that anymore. But I do think that it just going off of comments I've seen from players, Mitch Marner still meant a lot to that room. A guy who was able to pick out music in the locker room, had guys over at different points, had those relationships with different players on the team. This is a guy I think Leafs guys will miss him in terms of how the Leafs have built their team post Marner, with some of the additions they made, getting guys like Dakota Joshua or Nicolas Roy or Matias Michelli, and the way they even built their defense before it got to a point where Mitch Marner had to leave. I think the way the Leafs are set up, they're still a playoff team. If they go up against the Florida, I'm not sure if they beat them still. I feel Florida's inevitable at this point, but that's a team where the expectation should still be to make a deep run in the playoffs. And Anthony Stolarz has proven that he could be given the reins, and Joseph Woll is still a young guy who has a lot to give and can produce as a goaltender in this league and can be helpful for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And of course, Austin Matthews leading the way. He was not 100% last year. If he's healthier this year, yeah, all bets are off for I think that obviously helps the Toronto Maple Leafs. But yeah, I think there's a potential for them to be better. It's just they have to still get over those playoff mental demons. We've reached a point with them where the regular season does not matter. It's just, what can you do in a first round, second round, and a third round series if you can get there? I know it's a funny joke to laugh at, but when that core with Matthews, Morgan Riley, John Tavares, like they've endured what they've endured, like William Nylander too, the mental side of it has to be discussed.
Julian McKenzie from The Athletic. This was awesome. Can we do this again sometimes when the season gets rolling? This is great.
Let me know.
Not that you delivered like a. Would this be like a slap with a wet towel to the face there for the Leafs fans right at the end of the interview? There, it kind of was. No. I kind of like that though.
No,
to bring up some memories. Yeah, that was good.
It's nothing they haven't heard before.
I know.
They haven't heard before.
Hey,
what are you gonna do? Get mad at stuff that happened already? It's the truth. They're the ones who will tell you better than anybody what they have to go through. What do they get mad at me for? What do you get mad at us for?
Trust me. We all know. Don't ever get into an argument with a Leaf fan, because when you start using logic and facts, you know it's going to to go south. It's Julian McKenzie from The Athletic.
If that's what you want to say about Leafs fans, I'm trying not to get in trouble. You go ahead with that. I'm just.
I know you are. I'll take the heat on that one. I'll take that. Julian McKenzie on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline.